was busy being nothing but thorough. She tried to focus her attention on Harper, but her senses naturally went on high alert whenever she was stressed. One of the benefits of being a damnmagin. Easy for her father to say. He'd jumped at the chance to be a hero. Becoming a genetically enhanced supersoldier hadn't been her choice. Hell, she wasn't even supposed to have been born. Finally, Harper pressed his fingerprint against the reader on Victoria's datapad, signing off on the repairs and transferring credits to the account linked to her current fake ID. Victoria switched off the device and shoved it into her breast pocket. "Pleasure doing business with you." She fled without shaking Harper's hand, keeping her head down and adjusting the toolkit slung across her body. As she exited Harper's docking bay, the bounty hunters entered from the opposite side and called out to him. Once out of sight, Victoria collapsed against the wall, her breaths ragged. Her father had always said breathing was important to controlling her abilities. Today, she wished she'd paid more attention to his never-ending lectures. To her left was the Port Authority office, where she was supposed to file repair paperwork, and about 100 meters to her right was the exit to the rest of the city. Harper's voice drifted out of the docking bay as he informed the bounty hunters he didn't recognize the girl in the photo. At least her disguise still worked, but a woman around the same age had just finished repairing his freighter and hurried off. With that information, the bounty hunters would expect her to disappear into the city. Why break her habit of doing the opposite of what people expected of her? Victoria tried to keep her step at a normal human's pace as she crossed the sleepy municipal spaceport, but she was so keyed up she reached the door to the port office in seconds. Thankfully, nobody was inside. By the time she finished filing her paperwork and made her way to the spaceport exit, the bounty hunters were nowhere in sight. Her shoulders sagged as she let out a long exhale, but her senses remained on high alert. Staying at the spaceport was a bad idea, but Victoria didn't dare go back to her room now. If the bounty hunters were smart enough to trace her here, they might search the hostels. Only a few pedestrians wandered the streets so late in the day, so Victoria kept her head down, her attention jumping at every speeder that whizzed by. Like most of the sleepy outer colony planets, Liber's main port had little surveillance, but the smaller population made it harder to blend in. After wiping her brow, wishing she could don a heavy jacket and throw up the hood, she headed to the town's only pub, located about halfway between the municipal and commercial spaceports. At dinner time, the pub should be crowded with spacers, and her stomach was starting to growl anyway. She might as well eat while ducking yet another attempt to kidnap her. A holographic sign flashing over the heavy door welcomed patrons, and other signs in the window promised strong alcohol and hearty food. She pushed open the heavy fake wooden door with barely any effort. Raucous laughter and conversation filled her ears, the smell of grease heavy in the air. Heart pounding, she slipped around the wood veneer bar and padded chairs that reminded her of restaurants in old Terran movies and plopped down at an empty two-top table stuck in the far corner of the room. She dropped a handful of credits onto the sticky table and ordered water and the cheapest meal on the menu. Too bad getting hammered didn't go well with hiding. Only after she received her water did she drop her toolkit on the ground. She took out her datapad and projected one of the local news feeds. The report soon changed to the upcoming Addis Summit and the possible one-on-one meeting between the Prime Minister of the Colonial Republic of Minerva and the President of the Genusian Union. The two nations had been at odds for hundreds of years, the conflict finally boiling over when the Terminus War began 26 years ago. The reporter droned on about the 4 years of fighting and the Cold War that had existed ever since. Now the Genusians' increased need for natural resources, not to mention the colonials' desire for increased tariffs, finally tempted them to establish full diplomatic relations. Wrinkling her nose, Victoria turned off the newsfeed and switched to an old episode of Salvager Vigilantes. The over-the-top drama was more palatable than playing nice with the Genusian Union's military dictatorship. Hell, let the Prime Minister form an